Hi, my name is Aga, and this is my assignment 2 for web development, a game called Snackman. It's basically my own version of Pac-Man, built from HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I will start by showing it working, and then I will walk through the code so you can exactly see how each part was built. So, this is the start screen. Before I press anything, the player cannot move at all. The game only begins when you click Start, button disappear, and the game begins. I can move using the keyboard arrow key or the direction, and I can also use the screen buttons to move, and each white dot I collect disappear from the maze, as you can see in the screen. So the point, it will be updated on the screen here. Each one white dot is equal to one score. And now let's talk about the enemy. So if I toss an enemy, uh, as you can see, the red flash, player get flash red, and the enemy get freeze for some second. And when all the three lives are finished, then the game asks for the username, and it will show the game over and the start button. If you want to again play the game, then press the start button. Now if I win the game, then so when I collect every dot and the palette the round in, the win and the brand new randomly generated maze load. Every round from here is different. So this is the random maze, fresh layout every time. So the game never play the same way twice. Now in this new maze, here is a new feature. As you can see, there is a orange palette. When I consume the orange palette, I can eat the enemy, which will give me 20 point, and they will go back to their original state and start the game from there. Now I'll walk through the code. I'll cover HTML and CSS quickly, then spend more time on the JavaScript because that's where everything actually happens. So the HTML is pretty minimal. It just set up the skeleton of the page. There's a header for the titles, a start div, which is the overlay you saw at the beginning, the leaderboard on the left, the main element is in the center, which is actually empty, but most of the code will be inside the maze and which will be written in the JavaScript. And the for control button, the CSS. The CSS does two important things: layout and animations. It uses a grid layout and animations. It is one of the cleanest way to do the game layout like this. Now this part I'm actually quite happy with the player's mouth animation, the Pac-Man jumping effect. It done entirely in CSS, no image. His direction class used clipart to cut a triangle out of the black circles sitting on the top of the player. And these keyframe animations toggle the opacity so it look like the mouth is opening and closing. Down here are the two animations from the assignment brief. It flashes and the player between the yellow and red, and it shrink the player down to nothing. These are triggered by JavaScript adding the class name to the element. Okay, now the JavaScript, the main part. Okay, the JavaScript is a main file. The maze is just a two-dimensional array. A grid of number. Each number means something different. 1 for wall, 0 for open space, path, 2 for player, 3 for fixed enemy, or the enemy, 4 for power palette. The first maze is a hard-coded like this. So round 1 is always the same. Consistent experience every time you start fresh. Load maze data. So here is the load maze data function. So this functions, it read through that array and stored everything into three lists: work, points, and palette. It also find the player, swap positions, and the fixed enemy position The rest of the game just read from this list rather than looking at the raw maze array every time. Now, the generate maze. So this is a part I'm most proud of, the random maze generator. So this functions, it generates the maze for our game. It works in two steps. Step 1 is called dipped for shots craving. You start at position 1 1 and you take a path through the grid by jumping two cells at a time and knocking down the wall between them. When you hit the dead end with no more unvisited neighbors, you backtrack and try a different route. This guarantees that every open cells in the maze. It always connected to every other open cell, so there are never any dots that are impossible to reach. And but the first step alone give you a very narrow corridor like maze, only one path between any 2 point, like a winding mill, winding tunnel. Sorry. So step 2, randomly remove some of the remaining wall. Any wall that touch at least one open cell have has a 17% chance of being removed. These create shortcut and open area which make it feel more like a real Pac-Man maze. So now here we are in the next function called move player. So player movement run on the timer that fire every 200 milliseconds. The interesting bit here is this next direction versus current direction. When you press an arrow key, the direction doesn't apply immediately. It gets shorter in the next direction first. Then on the next trick, if that direction is actually walkable, it becomes the current directions and the player turn. This is called input buffering. Without it, if you press a direction or split second too early before the player reach a corner, the input just get ignored and the game feel unresponsive. Buffering, it means the draw happen as soon as it possible can. Now we are on the next functions called place enemies. Enemies are placed on the cells that are further from the player's position. The distance is measured by adding the row difference and the column difference together, and the three cells with the biggest distance are chosen. There is also a check here in enemy at pose to make sure two enemies never start on the same cell. Now here we have a move enemy functions. So during the game, each enemy has its own independent timer. Every tick it collects the valid direction it can move. Anything that is in the wall and doesn't already have another enemy on it one at random. If the enemy is frozen either after being eaten or during a player hit, it check at the top stop it from doing anything. Now we'll go to the check collision. So check collision functions run after every single move player is an enemy. It looks through all enemies and check if any of them share cells with the player. If the power mode is on, it call each enemy. So if not, it call player hit. Player hit decrement the life counter. Then immediately set frozen to true on every enemy. That is what stops them moving during the animation. After 1.5 seconds, our timer fries. Reset the player and all the enemy back to their origin position and set frozen back to false so the game continues. If it hits zero, the game over, sequence run instead. So to wrap it up, the game cover everything in the brief: wall collision, lives, hit, and dead animation, random enemy positions, on-screen control, persistent leaderboard using local storage, and infinity randomized generate level. The two additional features I added were the power palette, which let you eat enemy for bonus point, and the enemy freeze mechanism when you get hit, which I think make the game feel a lot fair because you are not getting punished twice by enemy that keep moving while you are already done. Thanks for watching.